All right, we'll give it a couple more minutes. I'm going to start pasting links into the chat for folks, especially the new folks. So before we got the Bevy platform, we would use Google Docs for the notes and for attendance. So we still kind of follow that format. I went ahead and added, yeah, thanks for getting that going, Stefan. So feel free to add yourself to the notes doc. Also, as we go through, if anyone feels like adding notes, totally cool. It's a collaborative doc. So feel free. If you see live notes happening, it's probably someone typing. So don't feel like you got to hold back and let somebody else do that as their job. You can put in nice little poignant or relevant comments if something comes across your mind. Also, you'll see that there's a spot for open discussion. Feel free to add some topics to that. Ideally, add them at the bottom. If we don't get to them this week, it's a good way for us to add topics and seed topics for the next meeting as well. So while people are trickling in, I'll go ahead and just kick off the formalities. We are recording today, so we ask that folks follow the CNCF code of conduct. Another point we like to make as well at the platform coffees is as we're talking, use Gestalt method, which to us or to me means speak from experience. I have, I did, not you should, you would, you could when talking to folks, especially if they have questions. And then also Chatham House rules. We're free to discuss like where you come from and whatnot, but please don't make advertisements. And also please don't discuss where people are from outside of this, if that makes sense. We'll all speak from our experience and not necessarily representative of our companies, whoever they may be. So let's go ahead and get started. I appreciate everybody hopping in today. I know we're going to get some people that trickle in as well. Let's jump into just some introductions. We got a few new faces in here. Some are familiar to me, but haven't been in these calls before. Cough Eddie. So good to see those. But if anyone, you don't have to be, you're not obligated to do this, but if anyone wants to just say hello and give us a sentence about yourself, and maybe why you're here, feel free, raise your hand, and we can jump into that. To raise your hand, you can use the more button at the bottom of the screen and hit raise hand as well there. Matthias, how do you say your name? Go ahead.
Yeah, hello. Hi, everyone. I am Matthias. I'm from Uruguay. I'm from Argentina, actually, but I'm living in Uruguay. And I'm working as a platform engineer at a consulting company here. Well, I am really interested in that kind of topics. I am a Kubecon from about a month ago. Well, I'm joining that meet to see what you are doing and try to give something from myself.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us. Jonathan.
Yeah, I ran into people at Kubecon, and it was very stimulating discussions at lunch and in the hi Chris and at the breakfast. So I just took over a platform engineer, DevOps team 3 weeks ago. So this is very topical for me.
Awesome. Thanks for joining. Juho.
Yeah, hello. My name is Juho from Finland. Same story as Jonathan, really. Met these guys at Kubecon. It was great to have a chat. So looking forward to have more. I work as a platform engineer in a games company here in Finland. So very cool to be here.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us. And for folks who don't know, Juho gave a talk at the Kubecon booth. Check out the YouTube channel. We've added a playlist for the recordings for the YouTube talks. And there's a link for that in the notes doc as well. Anyone else before we roll in? Awesome. So I'm Colin Griffin. I'm a co-organizer for the platform engineering technical community. With me today also is Chris Plank. He's a co-organizer as well. We also have Atul, Katie, and Humble, who I don't know that everyone's on the call, but everyone's busy
Colin,
and taking vacation and stuff. Go ahead, Chris.
Mike had his hand up, and I see Eddie Knight is also lurking. I don't think we've had Eddie before, so yeah, two other guys that had their hands up, I think.
Okay. Hi, I'm Mike. I'm at Network Innovations with Jonathan, and I'm fairly new at Network Innovations in their DevOps team. Before that, I was at Yahoo and platform engineering teams for about 5 years.
Awesome. Sorry for missing your hand. I think we might have more people than the view is showing me.
Yeah, that's all right. I was going to stay quiet and just listen today.
No, it's all good. Let's see. So we'll go ahead and jump into topics. Chris, did you have anything top of mind as well before we jump into that?
No, really, just we could have just given a summary of kind of Kubecon, because there are a lot of people here who weren't there. We did run the highly successful platform engineering coffee meetups in the morning, 7 a.m. It was quite a struggle for some people to get there for 7 a.m., but a lot of people made it. Jonathan made it on, I think, the last day as well, right? Despite him saying he's not a morning person, he still managed to come along. And we had a new experiment that we tried as well, which was just trying to meet up at lunch times. I think that worked well, right? We found a common space that people could just come, safe space that people could come and chat. We did have lots of chats. It was not in the coffee morning format. It wasn't kind of agile, lean coffee. It was just a space for us to sit, eat together, have some conversations about platform engineering and life in general. And some of those conversations continued way past the lunchtime meeting, and other people joined as well. So that was really successful. I think Platform Engineering Day was a success as well. The recordings will come out by next Monday. Yeah, next Monday, 24th. They're supposed to be out by. There was an awful lot of platform stuff going on. I think Colin and I were all over the place. And then, as you already said, Colin, the booth on the Thursday, lots of great talks, all recorded, lots of great conversations afterwards as well. Frankly, not enough of us to run around and be in all the places at the same time. But it was great. A lot of new people talking about platform engineering, wanting to get involved in the group, and good to see you all here today. That's kind of all I really wanted to say today, Colin, right? Now it's really about getting down to initiatives and feedback from everyone about what you want to see, what you want us to be working on. We did launch the self-assessment tool. That was one of the talks on Monday. We're seeing people use it. We had people come up and talk to us about that, which is great. We still need a lot of feedback from people as to where you want that to go, right? Without the feedback, it'll just die. It'll just be a tool, and that's it. So we really want feedback, and then people to say kind of what you want next from that and what you want next from the group. We did tout with a lot of people that we spoke to about updates to the maturity model and the white paper. I think, Colin, you're going to come on to that, right? Those are a couple of the ideas that we've all had for some time, but now we need to make that happen. We talked about it at Maintainer Summit as well on the Sunday with kind of some of the people that were there. And yeah, just the final thing really is cross-populating some of this and our discussions with other groups, likes of the Technical Advisory Board, I think they call it TAB. I never get what the acronym stands for. I need to look it up. But the TAB, they're pulling together a lot of the reference architectures and things like that, and they're always looking for content. We probably think they'll be the ones that sponsor most of our initiatives as well. I think that's all I had to say, Colin, right? I think Corey had his hand up.
Yeah, I was trying not to interrupt. I was curious if you have any metrics on the assessment usage. Like, do we have any idea how widely it's been used?
No, I think our metric is on feedback rather than usage. I don't think we've got anything on the usage at all.
Yeah, we're not collecting usage information and having people consent and opt into it. So totally anonymous today. But when we talked about it early, I think that was the way that we wanted it.
Some questions in the chat. Corey, you put your question in the chat. I think Antoine, you'd asked how many people were present. It varied every day. I think we don't really count them. You'll see it in the pictures that we posted. Compared to the EU one, so London, I think one of the days was on a comparison with London because we spread across multiple tables. I think the challenge we had with the coffee morning, the CNCF weren't opening up the coffee area until 8 a.m. And one of the feedback things that we found is people don't really care about coffee. It's quite surprising, right? Because we scheduled it based on the availability of coffee. So we went to the Signia Hotel. I don't know if you've seen the videos that I've been uploading to LinkedIn and showing the distance that you had to walk, right, and how long it took. I mean, it's about a 10-minute walk from the Signia Hotel to the main conference center, and that was using the internal route. If you used the other route, it was a little bit longer than that, probably about 13. But we did that based on the open coffee shop. Every day you could guarantee the one at the Signia was going to be open, and so we started off there. First day went really well. We got coffee. People were there. People were passing and joining in. That was good. The second day, for whatever reason, they decided to increase the music in the area, in the whole of the foyer, and they wouldn't turn it down, right, despite us asking. So the background noise was getting louder and louder. And, they raised a ticket. This is how bad it is, right? They raised a ticket to get the noise turned down. That's not going to go anywhere, right? So we put it to a vote and we asked people, will we just move upstairs? Will we move into that empty space? It is an empty space. It was a cool space. It was a coffee shop, but the coffee shop doesn't open till 8 o'clock. And everyone said yes. And when we did that the next day, we got a lot more people coming because they could see us in passing. So we've definitely learned the lesson that actually being in the conference venue, just like London, with people going past, actually attracts more people and attracts people to come and take part. The coffee wasn't really the issue. There's some people came with coffees, an awful lot of people just didn't bother and they got the coffee after it. So that was really interesting. We would probably fixate it, certainly I did, when we were organising it with the CNCF about the availability of coffee and when that place was opening. Originally we've been told that it was going to get progressively later. They seem to open at weird times. And other coffee shops in the area that were also on the list, I think the one at the Omni had also been offered. Some days that was closed. I think on the Thursday it was completely closed. They'd moved it to another tower because there was some event on for kind of some bigwigs in Atlanta. So yeah, lots of lessons learned there that we'll take to Amsterdam, and we'll talk to the CNCF about it. We do want to try and get it on the actual schedule. I think that would really help bring a lot more numbers if it was on the schedule and people were able to just click right and say 7 a.m. Coffee meetup. So that's something that I'll take away. A lot of those folks I'll give them this week, let them get back into all the stuff that they've been away from, and next week we'll kind of pitch these ideas to them. The same as feedback for the lunchtime tables. Got some really good feedback on the last day about it being a safe space. You know who you are that gave me that feedback. I'd really appreciate that in writing. If you can get that in an email, chris.plank@natwest.com. I'll put it in the chat. If I can get that feedback, I can take that to the CNCF and it will help us make our case for actually giving us a proper space. As Abby said, final thing, Abby, we had a conversation with Abby. She was there one day. So as the kind of co-chair, she asked for feedback, and a lot of people gave a lot of points and a lot of feedback, which she has taken on board. She did say that most of it isn't about space. There's plenty of space. It's people that's the problem, right? People's time, because there are so many demands on people's time. I think that's true. So I think that's it.
So yeah, what's important is the location, not too far, not too noisy. For example, in London, it was a bit noisy, but visible as well, because you want people to make sure they see you. So it's going to be complex for Amsterdam to find something that fits all three
Yeah.
criterias.
I mean, the one thing that worked, and I did do it as an experiment, David had mocked some table signs up before. I think that was in Salt Lake. So I went and got the Perspex one this time, and we actually put, we put things in there. They weren't the best printed. I ran out of ink at the last minute, right? And then instead of it being brown, it came out green. Doesn't matter. We used it, and we had because we're an official group, we had the official logos on it. And actually, those were left in place over the days that we moved. So when we left it upstairs in the coffee shop, it stayed there, and people were able to see that. When we left it on the tables at lunchtime, again, they stayed there. And the thing we're going to try next time is actually just get the CNCF to put out the big boards that they've got to highlight it, because they were doing that for projects, right? There are tables for projects that were open at lunchtime, and then they were reserved other times. Well, could we just get like 2 of those or 1 of those that just says reserved for platform engineering community? Just a safe space like we did in London. These are all the things that people were talking about, right? All the comments that we got. Colin and I have made notes of those. Abby's made notes as well. We'll be putting those to the CNCF, and we'll get back to you as to where we get for Amsterdam. And then next year, we're back in Salt Lake City. Now, that'll be an interesting one, because Chris Anacek was blocked from getting his coffee one day because we all took over the coffee shop, and the coffee queue went up to about an hour. So we're going to try and get it resolved for that, so we don't have to.
I thought next year was in LA.
No, they moved it, David. They announced it's going to be in Salt Lake because Ellie's not going to be ready.
Ah.
So yeah, next
alert or something from.
Sorry.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. No, they've actually announced 2 years forward as well. So we've also got Barcelona after Amsterdam, and we've got Salt Lake City, and we've got New Orleans. I think a lot of people are really interested. Simon, hello. I know we were chatting on the way back on the plane. We're all very interested in going to New Orleans.
Yeah. Well, we got to jump. Let's jump back into the agenda. Lots of good feedback from that stuff, and keep rolling, because we got to get to Sergio too. So some quick things here. So again, for some of the housekeeping items and some of the update, it's be on the lookout for requests for comments for some of the initiatives that we want to complete by Kubecon EU. Formal initiatives with the TOC and the CNCF are recommended to be about 3 months worth of work. So we'll be working to make sure that we have initiatives defined, and if obviously from feedback or what should be an initiative, but we'll walk through that process with folks, and we'll have a request for comments to give people a way to start getting involved and to raise their hand and say, hey, I want to be a part of this. Some of the ones that we have on the horizon for Kubecon EU, or we obviously need updates to white paper or maturity model. I think we're leaning towards white paper, but defining some proper scope for that as well. It's very nebulous today, but we'll get in there. But be on the lookout for some discussion in the Slack about that. Also, if you're interested in contributing to platform engineering as a whole, and aren't really sure where to start, we all come from very different domains. Some of us like very specific expertise that's grown into this practice. In order to facilitate more interconnectivity in the CNCF and broader support for the CNCF, we can be a really good facilitating organization. So consider looking at the tag list or the project list, finding tags and projects to participate in, and then being a representative here for that. So let us know what's going on with those, but also help those projects and tags understand what platform engineering and platform engineers need from that perspective. So consider being a liaison or participating in both, and we can help you drive some things there as well. To jump into community discussion, we've got we talked through, I think, some KubeCon recap already, but I wanted to give people a chance, and just we only have a few minutes, but in the notes doc, and I'll repaste it, we added a section here that's always really popular for what talks were you interested in, so that folks can go back later and view some of the recordings and not have to sit through that themselves. But But definitely, as we're talking, please feel free to go in, add a talk title and a link, and maybe a couple of comments of like why this was important to you, or what you were interested in, or a key point there, and do that as we go. Somebody added a topic for Cloud Native Days France, if they wanted to talk about that really quick.
Yes, it was me. The program was published this morning, so I only took a few minutes to read, but there are some topics interesting on platform engineering. For example, we have the DINUM. It is the state entity managing the French government IT stuffs. They are going to showcase their open source Kubernetes distribution with a few topics, so we have some good things to share for the French community, but sorry, it will be only in French. So it will be in February. The program is out today. And my CFP was rejected, but I will be present.
Awesome, sounds great. Yeah, thanks for sharing. All right, so what we're going to do in the agenda next, so we have a guest speaker. I'll jump into intros for that here in a second. Again, we want to save some time for open discussion as well, so we can bring up more Kubecon talk and other things. But if you've got a topic you want it to jump in here for open discussion, I see some FinOps framework and some other stuff there. Feel free to add that to the bottom of the list that's already there in the notes doc. But without further ado, I want to jump into Sergiu. So today we're reviewing. He was instrumental in submitting the Allianz CNCF reference architecture. If you want to learn more about how to submit one of those and your company is a CNCF member, please go to architecture.cncf.io. Link is there in the chat. And we can help you walk through and get connected to the right folks for submitting your own reference architecture. But go ahead, Sergio, take over. You should have permissions to share your screen and present and do all that stuff as well. And again, for folks, if you have questions, please raise your hand using the tool.
All right, cool, thank you. So I'm gonna test if everything works soon. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Not really sure where you are. Thank you for inviting me to this conversation. Maybe some words about myself. I'm executive, I'm Allianz executive for some years already, and I had always the mission to transform Allianz into something modern and build a future-proof platform, cloud native, I would say, for Allianz. I managed in 5 years to create a group standard that is now more or less, plus the operational model supporting that, of course, that is now supporting the biggest program in the group. That's on the business side, and you're gonna see that I'm biased towards how I see platform engineering and how I define platform engineering, because I'm coming from a certain world, with certain constraints, which is the enterprise financial world of Europe, where you have a lot of forces like compliance or regulation that somehow shape the stakeholders that you have, and therefore you have to have a more extensive view of what platform engineering is or not. So I'm going to stay away from the definition of platform engineering. It's equal with IDP. Now I really don't subscribe to that similarity, mainly because you simply handle just one stakeholder out of so many others, which might be much more influential for your destiny as a group. I'm also coming from CNCF. You mentioned previously TAB as an acronym, so this is Technical Advisory Board Member. I was one of the first technical advisory board members, and I was the one leading the working group on reference architecture. And I focus on platform engineering, and in that role, I was the one publishing the Allianz reference architecture, which is actually more than that. And so the title is a little bit misleading, because we realized immediately after we started the working group that it's not enough to paint something static like a reference. You have to tell a story of a journey, because everyone is moving somewhere in that journey, and you're always coming from somewhere and you go somewhere else, right? So just painting where you are today doesn't make a lot of sense. And we also decided that there's no point having just one single reference architecture, more or less because we are acting in different worlds. Now, for example, if you find a reference architecture, which is nothing but a successful story on how to implement cloud-native transformation, then that reference architecture of a technology company from the United States, so that recipe of success, it's not relevant for a financial institution in Europe that has different talent, as I said, different regulations and different constraints and different stakeholders. No? So we decided that we have to identify clusters, very precise clusters, where we take into account the company size, the industry, the geography, and a few other things. And then we try to identify a story per cluster, because if you're coming from a certain world, you're going to look for a story that resonates with your needs. So that was my vision on how to run this working group. And I've seen that we had only 2 reference architectures so far published, mine and the one from Adobe. And I know that Chen, now from Switzerland, they're also struggling to publish few stories for 1 year already. I'm not really sure what happened, because at one point I had to break from the CNCF because in Allianz we had a bureaucratic glitch and we lost somehow the subscription with CNCF. Okay, so that's a little bit of an intro. I'm also active a lot lately on the European Resilience Summit, so more about sovereignty in Europe, but that's not so relevant for this conversation. Let me now jump into... Okay, let me take the whole screen in the presentation I prepared for today.
And I'll give you a warning. You got about 12 minutes left.
Okay, good. Right. Let's try to do the best I can on this one. So this is a mirror board. I warn you, I have a bias towards, or I'm very opinionated about what platform engineering should look like in an enterprise. And I feel it's, first of all, it needs to prioritize experience and not be concerned about tooling that much. And it has to handle the needs of the whole organization. That means a lot of stakeholders, not just the engineers, the software engineers. No? So that's a little bit about the definition, and this is the story. So let me tell you the story behind the storytelling. I'm going to go fast. So most likely, if you're doing now platform engineering, you're somewhere maybe outside, but you went through some of the stages here. I feel like all of us are fighting some challenges which are coming either because of the internal politics or budget limitation, you name it, access to talent, whatever. Basically, you have to go to those challenges. You have to identify a certain solution, and that solution most likely will change you as a team, as an organization. So therefore, the collaboration between different teams, which can be defined as topology, will have to transform. And part of that transformation, your identity as a team will also evolve. You're going to become an advocacy. You're going to become, an influencer, and so on. So every single challenge will need a certain solution that will most likely have an impact on yourself and the relation you have and communicate with the rest of the group. And ideally, it's going to have a certain impact. First, in my case, was on a team. Next, because once you have success, then your influence is being amplified. Then we managed to go next, and we had an impact on the whole engineering world. And then we moved and we had an impact on the organization level. And at the end, we managed to create a group standard because we were probably very successful in what we were doing. And even better, you could articulate what success means to you or to your organization. And I'm going to spend a few minutes on how I'm measuring that. There is a certain framework I'm working at right now. I'm working, for example, with Manuel Pais and Matthew Skelton. We're going to publish some articles about this. So we're going to hear a little bit more about this methodology. But let's go fast to the most important steps or stages I had to go through. Maybe they resonate with you, and then we can stop at the framework for measuring success in platform engineering, because I feel there is still no standard on how to do that. When you look at business, you have like 2-3 KPIs that you look at, and you're successful as a business. When you look at a digital transformation or a platform engineering, you can't articulate what success means. So that's a little bit strange, and that's something I'm trying to change right now. I felt that conversation was missing also in the TAB on the reference architecture working group. Okay, so I'm gonna go first. Like, this was in 2021. I took a team that was faking SRE. There is a name for it. It's called fake SRE topology. I realized that fast because I came from another environment where DevOps was actually functioning well. So we had to go and rewrite the definition of DevOps in our own context. We defined the principles, our identity. We mapped our stakeholders early on, and then we started working. First of all, now we suddenly became experts in DevOps. I mean, at least in our definition. So we became an advocacy for that. And we had a mission back then to build a future-proof platform that is self-service. And that was very important for us to always know the North Star and what we want to achieve. And then the first thing that we did was we changed completely the CI/CD, and we wanted to have full ownership over it. So we didn't like to use an existing tool on the market. We said we rebuild everything. We went for Tecton, for example, because that gave us access to the inner mechanics of CI/CD. And once we did the transformation, we didn't know how well we are doing, so we look at DORA metrics now, and then we started implementing all the DORA metrics for us. This is a view on how we are looking. And of course, we measure ourselves not just around the Allianz or Europe. We said, let's measure with globally with other companies using the same global standard now. We were doing well, and again, we had more stakeholders than just the software engineering. We had, for example, the COO. This is a role that is very much concerned with spending, how much money you spend, so the cost unit is very important. So I had to translate the DORA metrics initially in financial, or to bring a financial metric on top of the DORA metrics, which was more or less the financial performance, and we calculate it as a price per change. That was very, very important because suddenly we managed to measure ourselves. We couldn't measure against anything else because this was invented by us, but we could measure ourselves every single year. And then we could set up targets about what kind of price per change do we want to have every year and how much we want to improve. So that was interesting. And then we could carry conversation with different stakeholders like CFO, CAO, and so on. We also looked at shifting left. This was end of 21. So we did DevSecOps. We looked at vulnerability management, and we got full transparency in what we are dealing with. And before we shift left, we understood we're going to block and destroy a lot of lives. So we decided to clean up the noise before we moved in shifting left to engineers. This was, in the end, a wise move. We also look hard at our landscape. We look at CNCF, of course. This is overwhelming when you look at how many options you have. And that's why it was critical for us to get a companion, be part of CNCF, and have like honest conversation, especially about failures with peers that went that journey and could avoid you a lot of months of going in the wrong direction. We ended up with different reference architectures. We always had one that is today and one that we want to achieve in 6 months. And then everything that had to be moved between the two states basically was the backlog for a product team. So we got into the mindset of a product team, and we fought very hard to spend more than 80% of our time, from 10% to go all the way to 80% of our time basically in the mode where we build on our backlog and not do something else. Right, we did that. So again, we saw this topology. Sorry for going so fast, but then we transformed into something else. We decided that the only way we make it self-service is if we federate the role in different teams. The company I was working on, Allianz Direct, was scaling very fast. We went from I know 90 people to 1,000 people. Now we are 2,000 people, and from 60 engineers to 700 engineers. So and the team, basically the DevOps platform engineering, stay the same. Actually, lately we actually diluted by 22%. So basically, with the same size of the team, we were able to scale everywhere else now, except in our own team, because we made it self-service, and we had a lot of automation from the beginning. So we did a federated SRE, and we started creating SLOs, and we started having conversation with different stakeholders, like the business on APIs. And they were signing contracts with SLAs, but there was no understanding of what an SLA mean. So we had to do education, and we had to create SLOs, which in the end, they became OKRs, so object key results for the whole organization. We were one of the few teams that actually had an opinion about what success means from our point of view. So we manage through our success and through our persistence to be, let's say, an important force in deciding the targets for the next year, in how the company was doing, not doing right. What's also interesting, maybe you have this problem, cognitive load. It's true, it's real. It's going to be very hard for you to have a holistic view over such a complex platform, and therefore you're going to either evolve things in different ways that will never fit again, or you'll have to find amazing people that have capacity for a cognitive load, and even that is going to be hard, because the onboarding, offboarding takes a lot of toil. So the way we found our way was to actually not create silos, but create temporarily working groups on different domains. And basically you had one person that started as a junior, and the expectation was that in 6 months, he's going to be the main executor, let's say, in observability, and then he's becoming a consultant. So he spends less than 5% time in something that is an expert, and then he moves around in different domains. And in such a rotation in 1.5 years, if it's a senior, he can have the holistic view and become a senior technical lead. Now, you see that maybe here in the topology we created, because again, we were all in on federating, but we also realized we have to get rid of unnecessary work that normally it's parked with operation teams, but has nothing to do with the platform team. So we created a production management role to take care of the incidents and problems, a compliance manager to take care of this, and then a tech desk to onboard and support all the stakeholders without disturbing basically the platform team behind it. We also started measuring the targets and evolution of every single person. This was an evaluation done by the team for the team. So basically everyone was evaluating its peer, and then you see here a profile of a technical lead. And then basically we knew exactly what skills we need and what kind of efficiency we expect from a certain person. So imagine when you hire someone, immediately you know exactly if it's skills on observability, it's a fit for your stack, which is very important. And then he can deliver value from day one, which means he can then also spend some time in other DDOs. We call it distributed DevOps, in other domain, like let's say AWS, and get a lot of knowledge to start be productive there also by the time is already active enough in observability. So imagine this way of approaching this setup. And then I have less than a few minutes, right? So let me make sure I'm getting to the last point, which is how do you measure success? So basically, I had to do a few things during the years. First of all, I needed to understand that my work brings value and what that value looks like. So I started with raw metrics that gave me a certain understanding of our impact. But the most important thing was that we had to manage the expectation of our real stakeholders, which is the board. The board is the team. Now you have the CEO, you have the COO, CIO, CISO, right? And these guys, they have different needs than, let's say, your engineers. So you have to manage their expectation and translate the qualities, capabilities that you create for their own needs. One example is, for example, is the compliance enabler. Again, in FSI in Europe, this is critical to have. And this is under the COO, which is always one of the highest, the second highest after the CEO in a group. So this persona will be responsible for two things: for cost units, so it will always demand to reduce your team number, but also for compliance. So if you can articulate that the reduction of your team will actually have impact on the compliance, so the risk that is taking personally, then suddenly you balance that request, and challenger becomes a friend and a supporter, because when a CFO, for example, might be coming again requesting you to do some savings, then basically the CEO will come back again and say, if that means that I'm losing 1% in the compliance, I cannot afford not to be 100%, then don't touch this team, because it's delivering the value I'm expecting actually from the team I'm talking about here. So I'm gonna pause here, because it makes sense to answer your questions as well. Otherwise, there's no value for you, right? So happy to take some questions.
We've got a couple of questions in chat. I had one that was the federated SRE is interesting, and I think I might have missed when you were talking about that. But does federated essentially mean that those are customers of the platform that are using the platform to help other people, like their own teams?
Yeah. So imagine you have let's say you have 40 different business teams which are building for different domains business code, and they are organizing squads of 7 to 10 people, and then these squads, it has again a focus on a domain, has a certain story points that they need to burn. So the full focus of the product owner is to push more story points on. So they normally create technical debt, and they don't really use the platform in the right way. And early on, when they had to sign SLAs, we took the opportunity to say, if you care about your SLAs, you care about operation, because we are fully digital. It's like if you're down, then you're not selling at all. That's it. All the stores are closing at the same time. So if you want to take care of your SLAs, which obviously is important for you, then I need 20% of the time of an engineer from every single squad to focus on operations. And then I created a community of federated DevOps, and then every 1 week we were educating them and gave them a lot of access and cool. Space to develop themselves. And suddenly we started from SRE. So SLOs, focus, SLA, and then we created and evolved into a federated DevOps or platform engineering. And they were actually building our backlog. They were bringing feedback, and they became part of our movement, more or less. So they were like evangelists for us on the business side.
Awesome, thanks. Corey, your question's next.
Yeah, so you had a moment where you showed like this relationship between the engineering team and SRE, and you had this layer of like support in between the two.
Yes. I can go there actually. Maybe it makes sense.
I really just want to screenshot that. That's a current struggle where my SRE folks really focus on observability and not necessarily operating things, and my engineers are building things, and we don't have this middle. Am I allowed to screenshot this?
Yes, of course you can. Yes. You mean this one? You're talking about this one, right?
Yes, this one right here.
Yes, so I didn't mention the ninja of the day. We call it a ninja, right? This is interesting because we wanted the team to be focused on to really handle the backlog we had. And we were like disturbed by different persons asking about a new project, SLA, incident, whatever. So we said one person from the team will take that role and rotate every day, and he's going to be the shield between us and everyone else. That was the initial stage. And then we went further and said, you know what, actually, there are a lot of questions that actually should not end on our desk. So why don't we create a tech desk? So this is like a developer supporting engineering, like juniors that just shield us from any kind of conversation, and they say, okay, this is where you can find the documentation. Let me help you with writing pipeline. We educated them so they can take care of the first, second, and at one point they're capable of doing level support before they end it on our desk. They took we were having something around, I don't know, maybe 200 tickets a week, and they took more than 80% of the work that was coming our way after 8 months of onboarding.
I think you could just talk about that for an hour, and everybody in this room would be, interested.
Okay, cool.
I got the screenshot. Thank you.
All right.
Oops, I was muted. Yeah, I agree. Yuho, you're up.
I kind of got my answer. You can move to Chris's question, I guess.
Go for it, Chris.
Yeah, I was just wondering what organizational change you implemented to kind of support this model and the move to kind of platform engineering. Do you have business units that are still wanting to DIY, build and operate things themselves, or have you managed to get everyone to move towards kind of fully managed services?
No, everybody was behind this, but our journey was unique because we created the platform from the beginning. We started with a very small team. We had like 60 to 80 engineers, and they had to use our platform. There was no time for anything. We had to go very fast on for market. So we captured somehow the whole innovation part. And then if you wanted to move fast, then you had to be with us. And then while we scaled, this was the only way forward. No one was allowed to move away from our platform.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but that's our specific, of course. If you go in a different setup, you'll have to convince people to actually drop what they have, and maybe they're attached to and accept your solution as a superior one, which is harder, I would say.
Right. That's always harder. So you kind of started from the fresh beginning, the greenfield, and built it out.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Sorry.
Antoine.
Yeah, my question was about the metrics you presented on the last ones, the yearly comparison.
Yeah.
My question is about how many of those metrics are you measuring on an annual basis and manually? Is everything automated, or are you, for example, the financial performance, you are doing it, okay, let's open an Excel spreadsheet and try to do some calculation. How many of those are manual?
Right now, I would say manual there are three of them, right? We have the compliance, we have the profitability, and the financial performance. In the sense, manual in the sense that you have a function and you need to take one variable from a sheet, basically. Like if you look at the financial performance, so what I'm doing here, I'm looking at the cost I have with all the teams behind the platform engineering. So I'm looking at the cost with the persons, and then I'm with the talent, and then I'm looking at the cost with the tooling that we have, and now I'm looking at like operational costs, like on-call money that we have to pay. We put all that together, and that's the cost of the team. And then I'm looking, and here I have full automation on the number of changes in a year. We had more than 100,000 changes. And mainly because I'm looking at all the environments. I'm not looking just on the production environment like Dora does. No, I'm saying that innovation happens everywhere, and maybe sometimes happens more in pre-prod or UAT than actually happen in prod. And therefore, I want to look at all the environments. And then I'm computing the price per change. And what's interesting is not necessarily the price, because you have, again, maybe not so many places where you can compare it to, but you can see the evolution of your platform. You have these platform effects on diluting the cost on something that was larger before. And imagine what's also important, if someone is trying to mess up with the teams, immediately you're going to get the feedback, or you can defend if you already project the feedback, the impact, and then you can negotiate different ways, different other ways than actually impacting your work and the quality, because you can go actually on the KPI that is sensitive to that person, and then you can play with that, of course.
And how many times? Only once a year, twice, every month?
I'm doing
for the manual ones.
Also manual ones. No, I'm trying to have a live dashboard. So I'm now pushing towards having full automation. So that means I'm gonna always keep track of the costs we have with salaries and everything else, and then I'm gonna just extract it from our business dashboard, the information I want to have, and then I want to have this dashboard live, basically, and I want to put it in front of the board, basically, so they can use it as well whenever they need it.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks a ton for the presentation. There's a lot of really good nuggets in here. I wish we had more time.
Yeah.
So definitely people feel free to follow up after the recording and whatnot. And I hope you come around more anyway and share those thoughts, since you have a ton of practical experience in the space. So it'll be good to learn from you.
of course, count on me.
But yeah, thanks again a ton for presenting. To continue to keep rolling, so we have some questions or some open topics in here. The first one that we've got is the next meeting. The maintainers from Kubecon are going to present. In addition, we're also having a presentation from Christophe Sauthier from the CNPE, CNPA, the Linux Foundation course folks. So we'll have 2 talks next week on that. But for the Kubecon guys, is there anything that and Brian's in here, is there anything you'd like to hear or see from them for their presentation? Does anyone have any nuggets or asks or thoughts on that? So Brian, I don't know if you want to give a sentence or 2 on what Kubecon is, and maybe that'll spark if you're still here.
I am. Essentially, Kubecon was kind of our own platform that we spun up to handle our Kubernetes on OpenStack. And then so hopefully that gives some ideas on how things run. 1 sec, I'll check if and if Travis, you have anything to add. If not, then I'll go back to Colin.
Awesome. So feel free, folks, to put some questions and things into the platform engineering Slack and ask about that as well. Help them have a good presentation next week as they're going through Sandbox application. So the next question is platform engineering framework. So I think Hiroshi, you probably added this one. I don't see a name on there. I know we talked in person about the FinOps Foundation framework and maybe applying that. Didn't know if that was your question. Did you want to say a word or 2?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, let me introduce this idea. This idea is from my Japanese committee member. He's introduced, he's working in the FinOps community in Japan, and he showed me, sorry, let me share my screen. This is a FinOps framework, and this is a kind of like comprehensive and so organized map for FinOps consideration or factors of FinOps field. So I think the platform engineering is similar to this kind of various. Sorry, platform engineering has a lot of factors, including technical fields and a lot of human aspects, and it's similar to FinOps framework, FinOps. So I think such map-like materials is beneficial for many organizations working with platform engineering, and I think I appreciate any feedback for this idea from this committee group. So sorry, makes sense. I'm sorry for my English speaking.
No, it makes total sense. Is there I think the question too, are there any other frameworks or things that folks, I think Corey put in a question about how folks view Canoe or cnoe.io. But does anyone have any comments or questions related to that topic? So you included a link to the framework as well. And I know I'm going to follow up with you, Hiroshi, on what we can do to try to move some of that forward.
Yeah.
Let's see. But does anyone have any other
Sorry.
topics are open? We've got 4 minutes left. Oh, sorry, hands are up. Holy crap, you're right behind my camera. Jonathan, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, just a comment on the FinOps framework. You made a comment that it had a lot of similarities with platform engineering. It would be nice to see a mapping of that. So, we see lots of pictures in our work every day, and the value is really seeing how those pictures relate to each other in a lot of cases. So that would be sort of another layer on top of it to help people from one domain understand how to use it and to map it in another domain.
I agree. Corey?
Thank you so much. Yeah.
A couple weeks ago, we discussed it wasn't called a roadmap. It was like a series of tools that answer different parts of platform engineering, right? There was a term we threw around. I feel like the FinOps thing and the canoe, like they're very much like these are different ways or different like references of how we can do this. So I feel like we're dancing around the same question, whether we display it the way that the FinOps framework or we have like a platform engineering framework could be an interesting way of talking about this for sure. But I see your point of there being a lot of overlap between the two.
I like one thing I liked when I saw it was the kind of the overlap with the business strategy and the technology strategy, and just including some of that. The white paper is very technical heavy and then makes mention of end users, but doesn't really branch into the integration into the organization. So I thought that was really interesting, and especially in Sergio's presentation as well, that kind of that evolution based on the needs and things there. And like when I think about AI strategy and some of the things there was a lot of conversation at Kubecon, which was, AI is it's where all the money is right now, right? That's the driver that the CIOs understand and the CFOs understand. And we know that we need to work backwards from that. And it's a platform engineering story to make AI work, right, at the end of the day. But I like seeing that kind of the overlap into those domains based on what the organization's strategy needs to be. And if FinOps is a major focus area, that maybe makes this platform engineering strategy more accessible for those parts of the organization. So showing that overlap, I think, is really helpful. And I appreciated that in Sergio's presentation too. I'd be interested in seeing more of these particular stories like FinOps and how we overlap, even with the developer experience story as well, since we tend to show IDP everywhere, maybe a more formal kind of approach here. Like, when does an IDP come into play? How does it overlap organizationally and whatnot? Those are my thoughts. Cool. We got a couple more minutes. Does anyone have any last thoughts or questions before we take us out? Cool. I'm looking for hands, but I don't see any yet. Awesome. Well, I appreciate everybody joining today. Thanks again to Sergio for presenting. Next week, again, the speakers are going to be Christophe Sauthier from the Linux Foundation to talk about the CNPA and CNPE certifications. And then also Brian Su and his co-maintainer from Kubecon, which sounds like Kubecon. I wonder if there's another way we can say it, CubecOS, maybe, presenting on that as well. But we hope to see y'all. That'll be December 2nd at 11 a.m. Eastern or 4 p.m. I think it's 4 p.m. British Standard Time. But thank you, everybody, for coming.
See you in 2 weeks.
All right. See y'all. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. See you.